I tried to wire up 4 MCP servers for an AI agent this week. Only one connected on the first try. Here's exactly why the other 3 didn't. Because the reasons are not what you'd expect. MCP, Model Context Protocol, is the new standard for giving AI coding agents access to outside tools. Airtable, Appify, Dropbox, GitHub, whatever you've got. Every tutorial makes it look like one command and you're done. Mine wasn't. 4 different tools, 4 different failure modes, and 3 of them had nothing to do with the tool itself. They were all about how the connection layer actually works, which almost nobody explains until it breaks on you. Failure 1. Scope. I connected Airtable. Claude Code said it added the server successfully. I opened a new session to actually use it. Nothing's there. Not an error, just absent, like I'd never run the command at all. Here's what was actually happening. MCP servers can be registered at 3 different levels. Local, which ties the server to one specific project folder on your machine. Project, which is meant to be shared through a config file in the repo itself. And user, which makes the server available everywhere, no matter which folder you're working in. The default, if you don't specify, is local. I'd registered it while sitting in one project folder, but my actual working session was routed somewhere else entirely. From that session's point of view, the tool simply didn't exist. The fix was one flag. Scope user, instead of letting it default. Once I did that, the same exact server showed up everywhere, instantly. If you've ever had a tool vanish like that, check your scope before you assume the connection is broken. Failure 2. The auth flow itself. Some MCP servers use OAuth instead of a plain API key. You run a command, it's supposed to pop open your browser, you click approve, and you're connected. Clean, in theory. I ran that exact command inside a chat-style interface instead of a real terminal window. Nothing happened. No browser tab. No error message. No spinner. Just silence, like the command had never run. I burned real time assuming something was wrong with my account, or the server itself, before I tried the obvious thing. I opened an actual terminal application, ran the identical command, and it worked on the first try. Browser opened, approval screen, done in about 10 seconds. The interactive flow needs a real terminal to render properly. A chat panel can look and feel like a terminal without actually being one underneath. And OAuth's browser handoff is exactly the kind of thing that breaks silently in that gap. Failure 3. At some point, I just stopped fighting the OAuth flow entirely. After hitting that same wall twice on a different tool, I didn't troubleshoot further. I switched approaches completely. Instead of the hosted, browser-based connection, I used a local server configuration with an API token I already had sitting in an environment file from earlier setup. One command, token included as an environment variable, and it connected immediately. No browser, no waiting on anything external. The lesson here isn't that OAuth is bad. It's actually the better choice if multiple people need access, or if you don't want a raw token sitting in a config file somewhere. But for a one-person setup where you already have a token, it's often just the faster, more predictable path. Don't assume the fancier-looking option is automatically the right one for your situation. Failure 4 took the longest to actually figure out, and it's the one I'd flag hardest if you only remember one thing from this video. The tool's status said connected. Verified. Green checkmark. No ambiguity in the config. I still could not use it. No matching capability showed up anywhere I looked. The actual cause, the session I was working in, had already started running before that tool got registered. Claude Code caches which tools are available at the moment a session begins. Registering a new server mid-session updates the saved configuration just fine, but the live session you're sitting in doesn't automatically notice. Connected in the configuration file and usable in this exact conversation turned out to be two completely different states, and there's no warning that tells you which one you're actually in. The fix is just starting a fresh session. Not a bug, not something to debug further, just a caching boundary that nobody mentions in the Getting Started docs. So, the short version, if you're setting this up yourself, check your scope first, local versus user. Before assuming a tool vanished, if OAuth hangs silently, try a real terminal before you try anything else. Token-based auth is a legitimate shortcut, not a downgrade, when you already have a key. And if something says connected but still doesn't work, the very first thing to check is whether your current session predates the registration. The two tools that actually mattered for the work itself, Apify for pulling the underlying data, and the AI voice that's narrating this video right now, are linked below if you want to set up the same stack yourself. 4 tools, 4 failures. None of them what I expected going in, and 3 out of 4 had nothing to do with the specific tool I was connecting. Next video, I'm using this exact setup to actually pull real research and see whether it holds up under normal use. Subscribe if you want to find out alongside me.